Let's talk now to Ladona Harvey, a woman who knows a thing or two about hurty words because she uses them all the time. Ladona, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you. And yes, I do use words certainly all the time.
Yes,
quite a few of them.
And
dirty.
sometimes words can be offensive, you know. And imagine
Sure.
puffin books. I mean, apparently the thing that was surprising about this actually was that it was Roald Dahl's family and his estate that actually sold the copyright to Netflix, because Netflix are involved in making a load of movies around the Roald Dahl stories, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all that. So it was them. It was a combination of the wokists at Netflix and the wokists at Puffin who decided to take out words and make it all a bit more kind of, you know, anodyne for some stupid reason. And now they've realised it was a massive blunder and they've gone back the other way.
Well, you know, the thing about books and movies, for that matter, is they are a product of their time. And so, I mean, we can try to whitewash history if we want, but there was a movement here to change the words of Mark Twain, the words of Laura Ingalls Wilder. I grew up reading her books as required reading in school. There were certain Twain books that were required reading as well. And we read them in all of their ugly glory, using words that we would never use today.
Right.
But it was made very clear when we were reading them that we wouldn't use words like that today.
Right. Oh,
and,
so
and that was
surely the whole
when I was a kid, so that's a million years ago.
Exactly, but the whole point of literature is that it's written in and of its time by people who were living at that time, and it's actually a lesson in history, if nothing else. Even if it's a fictional book, it's a fictional story. You know, like one of the things they changed in Roald Dahl's book, I think it was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is they changed women who worked as cashiers and sort of, you know, shop assistants into business leaders and scientists. And you go, well, really? You have to do that in order to make sure that women are properly represented? I mean, do me a favour.
Well, I mean, and we have these things called parents who are really good, if you let them, at explaining things to kids.
Yeah.
You know, this book was written in 1933, or whatever year it was written. And in 1933, there were certain things in the United States, in the UK, that we, you know, today we don't think are right. I mean, how easy is that to explain to people, especially kids?
Yeah.
And kids have wonderful imaginations. I think we can let them read the books and then come up with the explanations later. I don't think we need to change them. But, you know, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a parent either.
Thank God for that. Some people would say that's a good thing, but I wouldn't. I would
agree. A lot of us would say that's a good thing.
Now let's talk about a story that has got some coverage here, but probably not as much as it should have done. This toxic train crash in Ohio, which has become a real political football, because I saw some people who were on Fox the other night basically complaining that Joe Biden had gone to Kiev in Ukraine and gone to Warsaw in Poland, but hadn't gone to Ohio, where this terrible train wreck has happened.
Right. He made a decision. I mean, I assume the trip to Kyiv was planned well in advance. The train crash, however, was not.
Yes. I mean, I don't agree with them, by the way. I think it was a good trip. I mean, I'm not a great supporter of Biden's, but I think you could see by the reaction of the people in Poland how much that meant to them.
Well, I think the people in Poland are quite concerned about Vladimir Putin's moves, as they should be.
Yes.
But the very least that should have happened is representatives of the president should have been sent to Ohio to discuss, number one, this toxic fire and loosening of chemicals, really horrible chemicals like benzene, upon the environment. You're looking at 45,000-ish animals that they know of that are dead, most of those aquatic. And only yesterday did he send the transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, which is about 2.5 weeks too late. You know, that's something that, as transportation secretary, your boots should be some of those on the ground right there saying, we don't know what happened, but we're going to find out what happened. And, you know, I am representing the highest office of the United States in this matter. And I think there would have been a very different reaction to people on the ground. We are going into a campaign that's going to be like none other in the United States, with Joe Biden and probably, you know, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and God knows who else in a presidential election. And it's just a very weird stumble to make as a president in what is going to be something that's going to be held against him. Let's face it.
Exactly.
I mean, Trump Trump beat everybody else to Ohio.
Yeah. Of course he did, because he understands what ordinary people care about, and that's one of the things that that got him elected. Because that's the other problem, but that was Hillary Clinton's problem, wasn't it? She didn't go to any of those big sort of Midwest states, which were very industrial, full of the sort of the Rust Belt type states, and she thought she had them won, and then he suddenly managed to get them instead. But I mean, presumably there's all kinds of ramifications in this case of you know, what the water being poisoned, you know, local you know, people being affected long term, which they might not know anything about.
Well, and even, you know, how we get really toxic chemicals from one part of the United States to the other. You know, we do need to move them somehow, but we need to move them perhaps on vehicles that are in really, really good repair, which this one apparently was not. There was some bearing that heated up way beyond its capacity to handle it. And by the time the people on the train, the engineers, et cetera, noticed it, they started to slow down the train, but it was too late. Yeah. So we have these toxic chemicals. We have this massive toxic fire. If you could have seen the smoke over Ohio, it was vile. It rivaled that, I think, of what we saw here in San Diego when a Navy ship caught fire and burned practically to the waterline. And they kept telling us, no, there's nothing on here that's bad. And we're sniffing the air going, you know, but I could swear I smell burning plastic. Yeah. And I've smelled that before.
Right. That's, I'm pretty
so
sure,
don't lie to me.
Not great to breathe in. No, exactly right. Ian Collins has joined us, and since you and I and he were in the studio together a little while ago, just thought you might want to say hello to Ladona.
I've got no interest in saying hello to Ladona.
Just checking.
She doesn't answer my calls.
Yeah,
she
shocking. It was either
promised to send me savoury delights from Southern California. They never turned up.
They can't afford. They've got nothing in California now. It's literally like a barren state. Yeah, I think it's been stripped bare. The strip, you know, there's no money there. There's no goods that you can send. Is that right?
Well, it's not right. I've just been a little bit. I've just been lazy, and you know, Ian, have you finally run out of the Tony Cachers that I bought you? I don't know.
Remember, I had a cupboard full of those.
Do I need to bring you some more? Are we bitter?
They were stunning, but they did run out sometime. I ate them all in one evening.
Well, okay, I can fix that.
And you did send the chicken seasoning.
Chicken seasoning over there is toxic stuff. You've got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, we better go. I was going to ask you about Harvey Weinstein, but he's gone to jail for another 16 years, so the hell with him. Thank you very much indeed, Ladona. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.